Hi there. My name is Beth Green, otherwise known as Granny Rocks.
And hello there, I'm James Maynard, otherwise known as Sweet Baby James.
Tonight I am going to be talking about heaven or hell. Some people say we have the choice, but do we?
Mm. Inquiring minds want to know.
Yes, and I hope that you join us. But first, I would like to invite Sweet Baby James to introduce our show.
You have come to Granny Rocks, where once again we have the opportunity to experience Granny's wit, wisdom, and uncommon sense. So without further ado, here's Granny.
Hi there. Well, I'm going to assume that we are broadcasting. Oh, Elizabeth said hello and sends a heart. Okay, we are broadcasting. Yay, thank you. Um, you know, everybody wants to make life simpler than it is. Oh, yes, we have a choice. No, we don't have a choice. Yes, you create your own reality. No, you know. And when it comes to heaven or hell, how much are we enjoying our lives and so on, it's very easy to say, yes, it's your choice how you respond or react to a situation. But I would like to talk about how that is and isn't true. And because life is way more complicated, and what we can do about it. And I see that Amy says, I can't wait to hear more about this. Sending you and Sweet Baby James love. Thank you,
Back
Amy.
at you.
And Tracy said, hola, and sends us a heart and a kiss and all of
And
that.
Carrie,
Well, thank you.
and back at you.
Yeah, back at you. So, okay, I'm going to ask you something. Let's say you were in a warm bath, if you happen to like baths. Oh, Todd sent us
Lots of hearts.
lots of hearts. Thank you. Thank you. Um, let's say you're in a nice warm bath and you love baths, or you're in a warm, I don't know, warm body of water somewhere.
Or in a spa.
In a spa, right? And you're being taken, and you're not allergic to the stuff that they're using. And we have a good morning from a fellow whose name is in Arabic. Good morning to you too.
Good morning to you.
Of course, it's not good morning here.
On
Here
that
it's
side of
good
the world.
evening, right? And so you could say, well, if you bring in lousy feelings or you're in a negative place, you can make that most heavenly experience hell. Well, there's truth to that, right? But now, supposing you've been captured by the Nazis and or somebody else,
Or a terrorist group.
or a terrorist group, and you're being tortured. Oh, Muhammad says good morning,
Good
Muhammad,
morning, Muhammad.
or good evening, Muhammad. And you're being tortured. So, are you really responsible for having negative feelings about that experience?
It's hard to have positive experiences when you're in excruciating pain.
It is. It really is. I mean, So, yes, that's why life is very tricky. So, there are a lot of situations where we are bringing in things that are negative and that we have a negative attitude. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. And so we can ruin, there was an expression that I used to hear years ago. It's kind of a rude expression, but the expression was you could ruin a wet dream. So, so yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are people who will make the best situation into the worst situation, and then there are people who make the worst situation into the best situation, and they are doing their part. But still, there is a limit because you see, life is a co-creation. We don't individually decide how we're going to react, what our world is going to be. So, let's say I'm dead tired and I really need to sleep, and I've got a nice warm bed and everything is fine, and all of a sudden the dog starts barking. And just when I really need to get some rest. And so, yeah, I don't care how positive an attitude I have. At that moment, the dog, not that my dog would ever do this, but at that
But
moment,
my dog would.
but at that moment, my dog is making it difficult for me to maintain that positive attitude. Now, maybe I can, but maybe I can't. But am I responsible for that whole co-creation? No, the dog is barking. Now, maybe I am responsible for not getting a training collar for the dog so that I can do something about his barking. So life is complicated, isn't it? So, okay, so James and I are going through this right now. We're trying to find a nice, humane, kind way of limiting our dog's barking, and we're doing the best that we can. But it's not just us who are involved in this. We have the dog trainer who needs to know what she's doing. We need the technology. Okay, now they make humane collars that don't shock your dog but go off. Now, does that collar have a microphone so that it picks up some other dog is barking and suddenly your poor dog is getting zapped because some other dog is barking? Or do you have the kind, can you afford?
You would say co-created hell.
Yeah, or do you have the kind of collar that goes off when it feels the vibration? Is it working? You know, it's all completely co-created with the universe. And then there's the dog. You know, does the dog have a sensitivity to whatever it is that you're doing, the vibration or the beep or the spray or whatever? Someone has written to us, Happy New Year to you, my beloved grandmother. Happy New Year. We are now in the holy month of Ramadan. And the month of repentance and forgiveness. We fast before the sunrise, except its sunset. I am now enchanted and the honorable family, my mother and father. I miss you. Is the piano okay? You are pleased with it. Oh God, amazing. Love you, my beautiful darling. Well, that's very sweet.
Awesome.
And yes,
Wonderful.
the piano is great, and I will be playing it tomorrow night. As so, we're going to remind you, I play the piano every
Tomorrow night,
Thursday
7
night.
o'clock Pacific time.
Right, and for some people it's heaven, and some people it's hell. It depends on whether they like that kind of music or not.
It can be a very subjective.
See, now what
sort of thing.
happens though is in this world where everything is so simplistic and we have too much self-help, people have got themselves convinced that it's all on us, that it's completely our attitude. Well, it isn't completely our attitude. You know, I'm giving you the example of something where now there are technologies that you can use to humanely startle your dog in the hopes that the startle is enough to stop it from the barking. So I'm talking about, you know, something that's not as serious maybe as being tortured or being taken into
Or having an electric shock.
having electric shock, or that it's not as terrible a thing as that your homeland has just been bombed, and but it's all the same kind of principle. We co-create with the universe in a dance of intention and allowance, and that is the truth. We co-create with the universe. I cannot make my life heaven. I can make my life hell. And my husband can't make my life heaven, not if I wake up with an attitude
Or a migraine.
or a migraine, but he can make it hell. Now, let's say I do have that migraine, because I've been having a lot of migraines lately. All right, so I have a migraine. Oh, Laura said love you too, and we love you too,
Love
and
you,
we're so
Laura.
glad to see you live. Happy to see you. So let's say I have a migraine, and I wake up and I'm in a tremendous amount of pain. And it is hard to deal with that kind of pain and still feel that I'm in heaven. And Muhammad says, happy to see you. You are a veritable artist. Thank you. I hope you think that my commentary is art too, not just my piano playing. So I wake up with this migraine. Now, what do I need? I need kindness, right? When I have a migraine, I need the lights dimmed. I need peace and quiet. Maybe I need someone to give me a massage or to bring me something. And so that can make my migraine more heavenly than if I have 3 kids who are demanding my attention because they need something. They're not even attempting to make my life hell. It's just that I'm already in that place that it's hard for me to handle the stress, or I live in a very noisy place where there's banging, or I can't lower the lights, or whatever it is. There's, no shades on the windows, so you'll have to hide under the bed. So it's. Do you understand what I'm saying? Sangita says, "Sweetest Granny." Oh, thank you, thank you. Oh, we have such loving audience. So you see, you guys are making my life into heaven. If you guys, so often earlier when I talked more about political things, I would get the most rotten kinds of comments.
Even if you talked about climate change.
Oh, definitely if I talked about climate change. And many, many other things that people would say nasty, nasty things to me. In fact, often they didn't even listen to my video, because if they listened to my video, they would realize that I think about things on a deep level, and I'm not just like throwing out, you may not agree with me, but I'm really trying to think of things from everybody's perspective. And it became very painful. I didn't even want to see my comments, and I could feel like somebody had punched me in the stomach every time they wrote something like that, or they cursed me and stuff, like for no reason, right? It was very painful. And then on the other hand, we have this wonderful comments that we get from love from our audience. See, we know this, that love makes everything better, but it can't turn hell into heaven. But the absence of love can turn heaven into hell. And when I say it can't turn hell into heaven, it can definitely make it better, much more heavenly, much more bearable. So now back to the question that I'm asking on the show, heaven or hell. Some say we have the choice. Do we? We have the choice.
Collectively.
We can co-create a world that is loving, or we can co-create a world that is hateful. And we have seen so much of the latter of in the last years, of people co-creating a world that is hateful, prejudiced,
polarized,
without any desire to understand one another, just trying to attack. Now, how well are we going to feel in a world like that? We can try to find people that we feel safe with. We can try to co-create an environment of safety for the other people, like helping them maybe to get past whatever anger they have. But we can't create the world ourselves. We have to do it collectively. And that is why we must take care of one another. I have had experiences of wonderful things happening to me. And if, let's say you're in a relationship with someone who is jealous and something wonderful happens to you, does that person rejoice with you, or does that person get angry and envious and put out negativity towards you? Now here we've had a situation where something wonderful has happened to us, and the other person can do it. There are people who abuse their spouse. I mean, typically the woman gets abused because she's typically weaker, but not always physically abused for wanting to go to school or wanting to have a thought of her own. Wanting to go out and have a life for herself, and she may be abused for that. So again, something that could be so happy can be contaminated. Now, I want to say something really that I hope that you will understand me. We are all born with the capacity to create an ego. And the ego is there to take care of us. It's there to, I call it, tell us when we need to put on a sweater. Tell us when we're really in danger. Tell us that when we're in trouble. It's there to protect us. But the ego has definitely gotten carried away. And we live in a world which is so ego-based. Everybody is out for themselves. I mean, you even hear it in the language, right? Um, and people will say that, you got to fight for yourself. You've got to fight for yourself. And that ego, if it is, if you're brought up in a situation where there isn't a lot of love, communication, mutual support in the family, you're going to tend to have your ego grow in strength as it is constantly fed the message that you've got to take care of yourself. Everybody out for themselves. When people have that frame of mind and soul, then when love comes along, they don't know what to do with it. I have an expression that I put in one of my earlier writings many, many years ago, which is raging and fearful. We experience ourselves as real. Aligned and harmonious, we're afraid we're going to lose ourselves. The ego can't stand being aligned and harmonious. The ego lives on contrast. It's you versus me. And everything is a comparison. You have more, or I have to do this, or everything is a power struggle. Someday I'm going to speak more about the ego, but for tonight, or this morning for some of you, I just want to say that some of you suffer from a condition of conditioning where you are afraid to be aligned and harmonious because your ego says that you're in danger and that you're supposed to be fearful and angry. And that's when you're real and safe and okay. Or for some people, it's anxiety they think is going to keep them safe. I don't want to get...
Or anger is going to make them feel strong.
That's right. Or anger is going to make... So I can't go into all of that tonight because I just want to bring this back to the topic. So if you are in a relationship with someone who feels threatened by love, how much heaven do you think you're going to experience? No matter how loving you are. Because the more loving you are, the more you're threatening the ego of the other person. So here's a perfect example. Now, we have a choice of whether or not to be in that situation. We may be really good at dealing with our reaction to that situation, but it sure isn't heaven. So we need to understand this about ourselves and others. We need to stop blaming ourselves if we're not ecstatically happy. If we go into a workplace where we're being abused, overworked, not allowed to go to the bathroom. Some of those Amazon workers had those experiences. I had those experiences when I was younger. I worked in factories where you couldn't just get up and go to the bathroom. You had to wait for somebody to come in at your machine and let you go to the bathroom. That wasn't a heavenly, caring environment. The more that we are in a caring environment, the more that we can collectively overcome our ego and all the fear that the ego brings with it, the more we can co-create heaven, no matter how difficult life is, whether we are facing the impact of climate change, the coronavirus, financial catastrophe, ill health, death, loss, grief. If we can be loving, and if we are with people who can allow themselves to be loving without fear, to allow themselves to be loved without fear, we're much more likely to co-create heaven than hell. So I think that I should probably wrap this up tonight. I want to remind you that tomorrow night is Thursday, Dreams of Peace night, where I play the piano, improvisational piano, that several people referred to already in the chat tonight. And if you come live, we can chat. I play the piano and do the production, and Sweet Baby James mans. I can actually say the expression mans in this case because he is a man. The chat, and he tells me what you say, and I can chat back. But I always respond to people, even if I can't do it right away, the way I can when we have this kind of situation. And I will be with you, and I'll play the piano for you tomorrow night, and I hope that I will bring you love and peace and well-being, even through the difficult times. Is there anything you would like to share before we go tonight, James?
I'm just grasping the keynotes here of love, caring, safety. And with that, we can co-create a very wonderful our era of good feeling and prosper together.
That's what we hope for our whole society. So we need to have compassion for those people who are afraid of love.
Mm-hmm.
But we also need to do what we can to help our world come to have some faith in everyone, in each other. Believe that there are well-intentioned people in the world, not be so suspicious,
Mm-hmm.
and not blame ourselves for our reactions, but keep trying to grow through them. So tonight, after the show, as usual, we do a program called Seeing Through New Glasses. It's a video conference that I lead online at 7 p.m. Pacific time. And if you're interested in joining that group, there is a fee for that group. Just write to me, Beth, at bethgreen.org, and let me know if you would like to join us. So, until I see you again, I want to thank you always for your support. We hope that we are helping to help you to feel more relaxed in the world so you can give and receive more love and not feel threatened by it.
Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.